Hey guys, what's up? Joe Bizzle289 here. Today we're going to be doing a benchmark video about the AMD Ryzen 5 2600 and the AMD RX 590. We're going to just set some baseline numbers as well as look at some of the overclocking potential. So we got a lot to do today. Let's get right to it. This video made possible by OBS. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. It's a program that allows you to capture the screen images on your Mac or your PC. You can get yours at obsproject.com for 100% free. Ooh, look at that infinity window. Okay, we're out. Okay, so we're here in the BIOS and we're going to have everything set up at the baseline so we just get our first line frequencies and see what we can do with the Ryzen 5. So as you can see, we have it set at the 3.4 gigahertz, which is its baseline. And then we have the DDR set at 3200. When I first booted up the system, the DDR was booting a little bit below the 3200 mark, so I had to manually do that. But now it's ready to go, and we'll go ahead and exit the BIOS and get into this benchmark. So we're going to use Cinebench as the CPU tester, and then we're going to use Heaven Benchmark for the GPU later on. So we have Cinebench loaded here. It's a free program you can get from cinebench.com, so you can test your CPUs and even do some GPU testing as well. But we're going to go ahead and run this. Again, this is the 3.4 gigahertz with the 3200 megahertz of RAM. Now the thing about Cinebench is that it puts all of your processors, all the CPUs on your processor to work. So it's going to load it up 100%. And really put it to the test. This is a video rendering simulation, and look at that. There we go. We're done. So here we are. We scored a 1305. That's not too shabby. Just kind of right out of the gate. Let's see what we have as a comparison. An Intel Xeon 2.66 gigahertz scored fourth. I ran this test twice before we did this, and I scored a relative 1301 and a 1304. So we're pretty much in line with the 1300s. So here's what we're going to do next. Next, we're just going to bump up the clock frequency alone. Just see what that bumping it up will do. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we're just going to go right to the edge of what I think is possible with this CPU. I don't want to try to fry my CPU, but I just want to see what kind of potential I can lock from it. So we're going to go into the advanced settings here, and overclock CPU ratio is going to be, we're going to put this right up to 4200. So what that means, we're going to go to the 4.2 gigahertz realm. Yeah, I know. All right, so we're not touching the DDR right now. We're gonna see what just boosting the clock frequency alone will get us. So here we go. Okay, I'm gonna leave this portion in the video so we can see if the BIOS post and everything else. Okay, BIOS posted. I don't know if you can hear it, but the fans are starting to ramp up a little bit, so we're already generating some heat. So that's a good sign. Okay, looks like it's working. And we're good to go. We're into the program here, and now we're going to give Cinebench a go. Okay, so we got Cinebench loaded, and we're going to try it at the 4.2 gigahertz just to see what 4.2 will do. Here we go. Already you can see that it's moving faster than what it was at the 3.4. At least I believe I can see a difference. Maybe you all can see a difference. If you do, let me know down in the comments of the video here. Again, I'm not trying to say that I'm a tech expert or anything like that. I'm just putting this out there as part of the build. And look at it. Whoa! Holy cow. Just by going up to 4.2, we increased our score up to 1436. That's 100 and 31 point boost. That's not too shabby. Just off of a 4.2 boost. So now we're just going to go into checking out the RX 590. So we're going to load up MSI Afterburner here. Now for some reason, whenever I pop this up, it always says it's at it says 300 megahertz and 400 megahertz, but it is showing the 1560 and the 2100. So we're just going to do a baseline check here. We have ultra settings, extreme tessellation, anti-aliasing at 8x. So we're going to see what kind of scores we get here. Again, we're at 3.4 gigahertz, so nothing crazy. We're going to go right into benchmark here. This shows us our average frame rate. We're setting about 42 frames, 42 FPS. Well, that's the average. Right now we're getting 100 frames a second. So the average, okay, so that just bumped us up there. We're about 57 or so. Temperature on the GPU was steadily climbing. We're up to 55 degrees Celsius. Now this is without any kind of extra benchmarking or anything. We're just strictly seeing what we can achieve here. We are getting some CPU usage though. It says we're about 27%, 38% CPU usage. So that's kind of interesting. We're at 59 degrees Celsius, 60 on the GPU, with an average of about 56 frames a second. Now I've been playing quite a few games on this, and I haven't seen anything that would suggest that the card and the CPU cannot handle what's being thrown at it. Any game that I've loaded up has been able to do ultra settings easily. We did some Fallout 4 testing, PUBG testing, and it's performing like I expected it to. So this is pretty surprising for it to be such a mid-range kind of CPU and computer build. I wasn't trying to do anything crazy. I just wanted to have power and sustainability, and I think that's what we've achieved here. So once this one is done, we're about halfway through. Once this one is done, we're gonna bump up the settings. Right now we're sitting at about 68 degrees, 69. It's hovering right about there. Okay, it just hit 70. So what I'm seeing is that this card runs hot. It's fairly hot for a GPU, but then again, it is just air cooled, and wow, 120 frames. Okay, it's not bad. And I don't think the fans are going nearly as fast as they could. Okay, so we're at 71, 70. So we're gonna put the fans all the way, and we're gonna bump it up here. See what we can achieve. Okay, so test is done with the first test. We had an average FPS of 58.7, and we scored a 1478. All right, so now we're gonna see what we can achieve here. I have MSI Afterburner pulled up here, and we're just gonna go crazy. So baseline clock is 1560. So let's try 1660 and 2250, and we'll put the fans all the way up. Power limit, we'll give it all the power at once. Fan speed will be all the way up. Woo! You can hear those things clicking and burning, clicking and burning. You can hear them. You can hear them going. All right, so we bumped it up. Let's see what we can make happen here. Already we dropped down to 38 degrees Celsius. Okay, core clock is going now. We're at 1660, and let's run the benchmark. All right, test is complete. We had an average FPS of 61.5, which is kind of my goal, was to hit the 60 FPS mark, and we scored a 1550 compared to our previous score of 14 something. So that's not too bad. One final thing we're going to try though, because this is hitting the CPU kind of hard, I'm going to see about bumping that up to the 4.2 and see what kind of results we get from there. Okay, so I overclocked the CPU back to the 4.2, and we have the GPU overclocked at 1660 and 2250. So we'll see what kind of performance we get on this one. Maybe it'll be a little bit different, maybe it won't. We'll find out. Okay, so there we are. We scored 63 frames even, and that was just from bumping up the clock frequency on the CPU to 4.2. So we had a max FPS of 133, not too shabby, and we scored a 1586. All right, so there we have it, the AMD Ryzen 5 2600 and the AMD RX 590. Now, some of the scores we got to get into, so that way you can understand the context of them. For Cinebench, we scored a top score of 1431. That's going to rank in our top 30s, right in line with an Intel i7-8700K. That was the one right below us, and I think they scored 1426, I believe it was. And next one up above that was the Ryzen 7 2700. So we're not too bad, not too shabby on that. And then as far as the GPU test, very abysmal in the long run. But then again, I understand it's an older architecture card. It's basically a 580, just kind of boosted up a little bit. By no means am I trying to say that it's a competitor against the GTX 1080, because it's not. The closest competitor would probably be the GTX 1060 or even the 1050. So, but that being said, we scored a top score of 1586, and that puts us right about 1400s, like 1487 on the heaven scoreboard. So we weren't trying to go for all-out scores or anything like that. I was just putting it through its paces. Now I did run into a couple of stumbling blocks, mainly the RAM. I was trying to overclock the RAM as well, but it didn't like it. So I started off with 3200 megahertz, which is the RAM's basic core clock. And then I tried to go with 3333, and my scores went down, which was weird. And then I went with 3466, thinking that might do it, and it went down again. So then I tried 3600 and almost bricked the computer. So I decided to stop while I was ahead, and just reverted back, and so that's where we were. All right, so again, if you liked the video, go ahead, like and subscribe. I tried to keep it as genuine as I could to what the scores were. That's why it was kind of a longer video. I tried not to do many breakaways, but there were obviously times where I had to cut away due to coughing and sneezing and other junk like that. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.